Okay, in the last class we have done with the relative market share position in the industry and industry sale growth rate in simple example of BCG matrix. And you saw that how we can compare these two and how can we locate our firm, our organization or our project into this square box. Now today we will go uh, next to internal external metrics. If you remember, we have already done with the internal and external metrics. If you remember, in the first stage, input stage, we have uh, created internal factor evaluation metrics and external factor evaluation metrics. We have done both over there. And if you don't remember, then we can have a little bit reminding picture here, like in this cases. Here you can see that we have done with the uh, this one external factor evaluation matrix, and that was internal factors evaluation matrix. In the internal factor evaluation matrix, you see that the score is 2.5, and external factors evaluation matrix, you can see the grand score is 2.58. So we have done it initially, but now here we take these uh, matrix score, and then we will draw this internal external matrix position, just like BCG matrix. Uh, this is, you can see that in the BCG matrix we have 4 quadrants, but in internal and external matrix we are given with 9 quadrants. You can see that, but this is the difference. Otherwise it is similar to the BCG matrix. Here the 9 quadrants have been structured, and you can see that on the nine boxes are here, and you can see that on the horizontal axis the IFE total weighted scores has been scaled, and on the vertical axis the EFE total weighted score has been scaled. So it's quite simple that IFE total weighted score. So you know that the IFE total weighted score is maximum 4. If you remember, it varies in between from 0 to 4. So you can see that here you have drawn the scale from 1 to 4, and the EFE is also having the maximum score of 4. So it is again the 1 to 4 scale is being run, but there are some slabs over here. You can see that from 1 to 4 it is not a single slab, it is, there are 3 slabs. If you score score is from 1 to 2, that is said to be weak. If the score is from 2 to 3, that is said to be average score. And if the score is from 3 to 4, that is said to strong. Similarly, on the vertical axis, similar fashion, 1 to 2 score is being taken as low, 2 to 3 is taken as medium, and 3 to 4 is taken as high. And then you can see that by distributing these score into slabs, three slabs for the IFE, three slabs for the EFE. So it makes 9 boxes over here. And in these 9 boxes, 3 different groups have been made. One group is box number 1, 2, and 4. Number 2 group is the box number 3, 5, and 7. And number 3 group is box number 6, 8, and 9. Now you have to locate your position by locating IFE score or an EFE score into this box. Let's say, as I said, that your score was IFE, that was 2.5, and EFE 2.58, if you remember. So 2.5 and 2.58. So 2.5 and 2.58, that was something here in this box number 5. You see that? Because in the box number 5, IFE score is 2 to 2.99. And in EFE is again 2 to 2.99. So 2.5 and 2.58 lies in box number 5. So it comes in this group. So if you belong in this group 5, 3, and 7, then what you do? You go for hold and maintain your position. And for holding and maintaining your position, you need to follow the market penetration. It means that in the similar market, you need to extend your product line or product development, or what we say that you need to introduce more function in your product. So that would be your strategy. Otherwise, if your organization lying in this group, either in the 2, 1, or 4 box, so you must go for the market penetration, market development, product development, because this is the stage where you grow and build. And if you belongs to this box, these boxes, this group number 6, 8, and 9, then you go for harvest and divest. And harvest and divest stage is either to retrenchment or divestiture, because this position of these boxes are not good. So here you can again select an appropriate strategy according to your position. You locate yourself into any box by coupling your IFE score and EFE score, and according to that box, either you are staying in number 3, number 5, or number 7. In each of them, you would go for these kind of policies, strategies, or if you are coming into this box or this group, so you go for these strategies, or if you belong to this group, so you go for this strategy. So that's how we go for the internal external matrix. And the last one is grand strategy matrix, and the next stage is the decision stage. I think that has been explained. Grand strategy matrix has nothing to do here. That's why I have not explained here. So these are the simple method to select or opt a very defined and very appropriate strategy. I have not included this grand strategy matrix and stage number 3, decision stage, because decision stage is simple. You have chosen your position and you can take your decision according to the environment. So that's all for the chapter number 6. I will be starting the next chapter. If you have any question, you can ask from me right now. Otherwise, so what uh, I'm leaving in this chapter that is not included in the exam as well. Okay. Next chapter is it is about strategies, management, and operational issues. And this is implementing strategies. This is the implementation stage. If you remember that while strategic management course outline, we have focused on 3 main issues. One was the formulation of strategy, then the implementation of strategy, and then the evaluation of strategy. We have gone through the formulation of strategies. So many things we have done in formulating the strategies, and now we are in position to implement the strategies. It means that you have selected, you have opted a strategy. Now you are going to implement it. Let's say according to those matrices, IFE, EFE, and that and this, BCG matrix and IE matrix, whatever, you take any kind of strategy to implement. Let's say you want to develop your product. The environment, the circumstances are requiring that you must develop your product. You want to increase the functionality of your product. You want to increase the durability of the product. You want to increase the quality of the product. All these things are product development. Or you want to have your product in some mm, in some packaging, in some time policy, in some bundling policy. So whatever strategy you opt for developing your product, you have selected it. You have come to the conclusion that the situations, the market situations, the circumstances, and these matrices guide me that I should develop my product. So now you are going to implement this strategy, that you are going to develop your product. But before that, there are some operational issues. You cannot develop your product by just saying it. You need to do something, you need to do a lot of efforts. But when you are going to do a lot of efforts or activities, then you come across with some kind of management issues and operational issues. What they can be. So this chapter explains this problem. So we are going to develop our product, or let's say any other strategy we have opted. Let's say we have opted that we are going to make some venture with some other firm. So when you are going to make a venture with some other firm, so you need to look lot of management and operational issues. So what those issues are actually? Those issues definitely are functional issues, because those strategies definitely explain and shift it to what? Divisional or functional managers. Because you decide about the strategy, But that action, that function, those activities, that would be definitely done by your managers and your employees. You can just take decision, but the groundwork would be done by your employees and managers. So you have hired, you have uh, uh, employed, you have appointed so many managers for this job. So in that case, uh, you shift that responsibility to your division managers. So that is actually the first problem for the strategy implementation, SI. And definitely the first thing and first problem is that to assign a better person for this job. If you want to develop a product, so definitely you will be looking that passionate, professional, and experienced man in your organization who can do it. So this is the first ever problem you can see in your organization, because you need an special and qualified person. And if you don't have it, if you don't have it, so that becomes a problem for you. Because if you lack those expertise, if you lack those quality employees, that they cannot, they're not capable or they're not able to do this particular job, that would be a great disadvantage in the market for you. So to have qualified, professional, experienced people with you, so they can function, they can activate their efforts for your strategy opted. Anyway, so management issues are basically these are the management issues. First of all, for every strategy, for every policy, you need to establish annual objectives. Definitely, you are going to develop a project, a product, or you are going to enhance the project scope even. So you need to develop some annual objectives, because without objectives, the activity is no activity at all. If somebody is working and hard working, and you ask him that why you are working hard, and he says, I don't know, what does it mean? It means that he is objectiveless. You must be having some objectives, you must be having some annual targets, you must be having some annual milestones to achieve. Otherwise, all efforts become valueless. You cannot evaluate your efforts. Just look at yourself. Your objective is to get good grades in this degree. So that's why to get good grade in that degree, you need to put a lot of efforts, because you know your destination, because you know your objectives. Let's say if this objective is taken out of your mind. So why you study that? You will be having no answer of it. Why I'm doing it? Why I'm taking this lecture? Why I'm studying? If you do not have such objective. So objective-less people or objective-less organization or objective-less policies are just nothing. And when you are you have designed annual objectives, when you have designed annual objectives, then the next point is to have to devise the policies to meet those objectives. you need to design or devise the policies, because those objectives can be achieved if good policies and good decisions have been taken. Strategy is the bigger concept, developing a product, but for that development, you hire people, you will hire technology, you will buy raw materials, you will make some contact with the people in the market. So all these activities need policies. There is a strategy, which is the grand thing, but for that strategy to be completed or to be implemented, you need to take little steps. And those steps obviously must be in the policy framework. You cannot buy, even though if you are working in a project, so in that project, obviously you cannot buy anything without having prior information or having authority given to you, having a lot of money that has been given to you for this purpose. So all these are policy matters. If you're not an if you have not an authority, if you're not having that much amount of money, you cannot buy anything. And if you're given the authority, if you're given the money, if you're given some kind of a processes, so this means that the policy is being established and you're going through the policies. So to achieve you need to devise policies. Then allocate resources, definitely, as I said that, that you need to put some money, you need to put some labor employees for that particular strategy, because you want to develop your product. Then definitely you need to have some resources for them. You need money, you need people, you need so many things. And if you do not have resources, and or if you do not allocate resources accordingly and wisely, then I'm sorry, this thing will not work. Then you can go for alter existing organization structure. Even if your strategy is a little bit bigger, let's say if you want to have joint venture with some other firm, or you want to you want to merge your firm with other one. So what do you think? After that merger, that the present organizational structure would remain? No, definitely not. You need to alter existing or organizational structure as a whole, because you are going to merge with some other firm. You have opted this strategy, now you want to implement it. Your managers, your board of governors have decided that this organization or this particular firm should be merged with the other firm. Then you need to design a new organizational structure. Similarly, you need to have some restructuring and re-engineering into the old systems. And if you're working with the people, you need to devise rewards and incentive plans. Just take example of the product development. You have come up with the strategy of product development. You want to develop a project, and you pick a professional manager out of your team, and you give this task to that manager and ask him that I need product development here. But that manager is being assigned a new task and new job. So without having reward, without having some financial benefits, nobody will work for you. So you need to design some rewards and incentive plans. And this is very common in R and in any system. You see that if any employee is being given with the additional task or extra task, so he's being rewarded accurately, accordingly. Then it is to minimize resistance to change. Definitely, if you are going to take a big decision, if you want to implement the big decision, there must be a resistance in your employees and your other stakeholders. So you need to minimize it. Then match manager to strategy. I've already told you that you need those uh, qualified people which can implement your strategies. If you do not find any good manager for implementing your strategy, then it is a problem. Then is develop a strategy supportive culture. Change is always not acceptable for anyone. If a bigger change, a great change is there, so there would be so many uh, voices against this change. So you need to form a supportive culture, a political climate for your favor, that all the stakeholder must accept your opted strategy. And it's not an easy thing. You need to make people's mind. You need to develop that kind of a culture where you find some political and political mean that uh, what we have in uh, our corporate culture kind of a politics. So many directors and managers could be against you. So you need to design, you need to devise such kind of an action. You need to develop such kind of a culture that those against voices should be minimized. Develop effective human resource functions. You need good team. Adapt production and operation processes. Obviously, you need some good processes again. You go for downsize or furlough as needed. Link perform and pay to strategies. Performance and pay, it means that it is a reward system. So if your new strategy become successful, then obviously you need to pay your employees and your related people with good rewards. If people know that after this is implementation, after this success, I would be rewarded with promotion, rewarded with high salaries, rewarded with bonuses, obviously you will be that will be very helpful to you. So these are the management issues which could be taken into consideration seriously. Then uh, annual objective, why we design annual objective. These are the basic issues behind the designing of annual objectives. Because if you plan or if you design annual objectives, so you come up with the information that how much resources you need. Let's say after a year I have designed, it is expected that I can earn 10 million of rupees after this quarter. So for that earning of 10 million rupees, you need to allocate some appropriate resources. You need to allocate people, you need to allocate technology, you need to allocate so many things. And then you need to have a good mechanism of the management evaluation. You evaluate people, you evaluate management, either the processes are going into your favor or not. Sorry. Major instruments for the monitoring process towards achieving long-term objectives. You need to design some instruments for the monitoring process. Because if all processes are doing their job accurately, then the achievement is possible, and who will look after it? Who will look after it that all tasks, all activities are going into the right direction? So you need to have system of evaluation. One evaluation process is auditing, but auditing obviously cannot be taken on the daily basis. Auditing is a very professional kind of an activity, fatigue. So normally auditing is taken place after a year or after 6 months or quarterly internal audit. But you need to design such kind of a mechanism that you can evaluate your processes day by day, every day. So it's up to you that how can you come up with this kind of a system. And then establishing priorities, organizational, divisional, and departmental. Establishing priorities mean that where you are going to stuff first. Either you want to make some changes in the organizations, or you want to make changes in the division of the organizations, or you want to make a changes in the departments of the organization. Because if some kind of a policy or strategy I'm going to opt, let's say if I'm going to develop my product, so for that product development I need research and development department or research and development division. And if I don't have R&D division, how can I develop a product? So for the product development, you need to have R&D structure, R&D department, R&D division. And if you have a strategy to you have opted a strategy to have merger with other firm, so you need to redesign and restructure the whole organization. So that becomes the setting the priorities where you work on. Okay, resource allocation. I think we will not waste time on this because we know that there are so many kind of resources: financial resources, physical resources, human resources, and technological resources. So this is actually that what these resources are. So I would not explain this slide in detail. Now, the managing conflicts. This is the very harming and very critical issue in the scene. Conflicts comes around all the ways. Disagreements. So if the disagreement exists in your organization, you need to minimize or mitigate this thing. Conflict, not always bad. The first thing is that. How? Because through conflict, uh, the system get developed. Why there is opposition in the National Assembly? Why this does not a government in the National Assembly? Why do they have oppositions? Because opposition or the people against you pointed out your mistakes, pointed out your weaknesses. So that's why conflict is not always bad, because conflict shows you the weaknesses, shows you your problems, shows you your issues in functions. If there were no opposition, if there were no opponents, so I would not in position to evaluate myself. So that's why conflict is not a bad, but it should be bringing down. So lack of confidence, lack of conflict may signal apathy because you become senseless. Because if your opponent is not there, so you are not aware of your activities, that either you are going right way or you're going wrong way. Nobody is telling you, so that's why this kind of a senselessness become over there. Can recognize opposing group to action and may help manager identify problem. I think I have already explained this thing in concept. Okay, this is matching what is this? Matching structure with strategy. I think I've already done it, because if strategy is not being coupled with the structure, objectives, organization, resources, everything. So if the strategy is not being facilitated by the structure, it is not being facilitated by the resources, then this is very much difficult to achieve any success. I think this is last slide, or our chapter number 7 is now finished. So this is today. This is all for today's, and might be the next lecture will be the last one. We'll be doing in chapter number 8, and let's see what happened. So if next lecture is in our procession, then we will go for the chapter number 8. Otherwise, if they don't allow me the next chapter, because your exams are nearby, and if we miss that lecture, so this would be today would be the last class. And वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
सर एग्जाम का कुछ पता है कब कौन से
कुछ
वीक
नहीं
में
पता,
मतलब
कुछ नहीं
नेक्स्ट
पता, कुछ नहीं पता मुझे, इसको बिल्कुल अंदाजा नहीं। आपकी ही तरह मैं भी हूँ, ठीक है। बट वट एवर द एग्जाम, जो भी होगा जब भी होगा, तो वो MCQs बेस्ड ही होगा और ऑनलाइन होगा, ठीक हो गया। और अगर जो हमारा आखिरी लेक्चर है, तो चैप्टर नंबर 7 जो हमने आज खत्म किया, बस इधर तक ही है। और मेरी कोशिश होगी कि मैं उससे अलाउंस ले लूँ कि मैं आपकी MCQs के साथ साथ मैं थोड़े से शॉर्ट नोट्स भी डाल दूँ, लेकिन बहरहाल ये सारी डिटेल आपको अखिल साहब देंगे, ठीक हो गया। मेरी तरफ से ऐसा
ओके
मैंने आपकी अटेंडेंस जो है मैंने इसमें प्रिंट स्क्रीन ले लिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच, बहुत शुक्रिया सोनिया सफी।